righty. Hello, Questtec channel partners. So today I'm going to be covering just a quick synopsis on boiler code made easy, if you will. And I'm not going to get into the nuance of some of the more nitty gritty details of, 1-inch overlap requirements, start of visible, any of that. I really just want to cover the more macro, big picture of what is required on a boiler vessel. And we'll kind of just go from there. So as we all know, boiler code is designated by ASME Section 1 PG 60. So let me see here. PG 60 dictates all boilers having a fixed water level, steam and water interface, shall have at least one gauge glass, a transparent device that permits visual determination of water level. What is a gauge glass? It is defined as a transparent device which permits the visual determination of the water level per ASME Section 1 PG 60. What is not a gauge glass? Well, we're about to cover that. But before we do, I'd just like to show you the various different types of direct reading sight glasses that exist. So you have the continuous chamber variety, which would be done utilizing a reflex sight glass. Just remember that this is only going to be typically in like 350 pounds working steam pressure and below. The reason for this is, above 350, that condensate flow becomes enough due to the higher working steam pressure that it becomes too corrosive where you need that protective mica shield to protect your glass from corrosion and from wearing down too quickly and needing constant repair on said sight glass. The overlapping visible is required once you move to a transparent sight glass. That has to do with the fact that once you're using a transparent, based on the operation of a reflex, as we all know, the sight glass will show either black or clear. Whereas with a transparent sight glass, it's just, if you have clear, transparent water, and if you look over here at the continuous chamber version in between sections, if the interface falls between sections and the water is very clear and not dirty, you may not be able to tell where the water level, that water steam interface exists, that meniscus line. So that is why there's always required to be an overlap with a transparent style sight glass. And then lastly, we have our ported continuous chamber, which is like a bicolor sight glass. For Questtec, it's our STB 3000. You have the Diamond Power. You have the Clark Reliance Simple Port. Those are the competitors that we're looking to replace. Another caveat with the ported continuous chamber is this ported sight glass does not meet code unless you have the bicolor illuminator assembled as well. And that is required because these operate like a transparent sight glass, where you don't get the black or clear interface like you would with a reflex. But as you notice, it's a continuous chamber. So the reason being that we can do this is that there's always simultaneously two lights, hence bicolor, shining through any given port. There's red and green lights. And because of the trapezoid shape of the chamber, that is what allows the refraction angles of the light. So when water fills the chamber, instead of red shining through, green begins to shine through. So I just want to get everyone on the same page to cover the different varieties of direct reading sight glass. And we will continue on to designate what PG 60 and ASME Section 1 tells us is required. So what is not a direct reading sight glass? A magnetic level indicator. Due to the fact that you're not actually seeing the interface, but you'd be relying on a float and the magnets and the flipping of that indicator that is external to the process. Conductivity probe columns, guided wave radars, and DP transmitters, all not considered direct reading sight glass. So what is a direct reading sight glass? I'll reiterate again, transparent sight glass, which needs to be staggered when multiple sections come into play. A reflex sight glass, which can be used as a continuous chamber, and a ported bicolor sight glass, which is our STB 3000 Questtec's flagship, which can be or must have the bicolor LED illuminator assembled in order to meet code. What are considered remote level indicators? The probe columns, DP transmitters, magnetic level indicators. Caveat to that, only allowed to be considered with the transmitter less than 900 pounds working steam pressure, and guided wave radars. So PG 60 dictates that boilers having a maximum allowable working pressure exceeding 400 pounds working steam pressure shall have 2 gauge glasses. Instead of one of the 2 required gauge glasses, 2 independent remote water level indicators, 2 discrete systems that continuously measure, transmit, and display water level may be provided. So we have this nice little chart here. Below 400 pounds working steam pressure, only 1 direct reading sight glass is required. Above 400 pounds working steam pressure, either 2 direct reading sight glasses are required, or 1 direct reading sight glass and 2 independent remote level indicators. So when 2 independent remote level indicators are in reliable operation, continuously indicating water level, 1 required gauge glass may be shut off, but shall be maintained in serviceable condition. So we'll flip back a slide here. If we're above 400 pounds working steam pressure, and you have a customer who has 2 direct reading sight glass, and this is a really common complaint I see in field, they're constantly having to repair sight glass. It's taking up maintenance time, man hours, costing money, and it's just a frustration that many end users don't want to deal with. Well, there's a solution for that, and we can ease the burden of meeting code for our customers. And the way we can do that is by, 1, being knowledgeable on code so that we can step in and we can tell them what their different options are. But per all the requirements of code, if they want to get away from having those 2 sight glasses that are constantly valved in operation, experiencing that constant corrosion that's undergone by the condensate flow that is eroding their mica, they can instead implement either 2 probe columns, probe column and a guided wave radar, or even a DP transmitter if they're using some style of independent remote level indicator. Now, one other point that I want to touch on that is unique to the requirement for independent remote level indicators, that could be interpreted a number of ways. The way that we at Questtec interpret that, the best engineering practice, is that it requires that you have a remote level indicator in the control room, independent of the DCS, that is always on display. So oftentimes customers will say, well, we have multiple differential pressure transmitters that we're already using for control on the boiler drum. And these DP transmitters also give them a level indication on one of their screens in the control room. Now that's fine and dandy, but there's 2 issues with that. 1, it's not independent of the DCS. 2, if they are flipping between pages in the control room, it may not be visible at all times to the operator. Hence, it does not necessarily fit the independent remote water level indicator requirement in PG 60. So what is an independent remote level indicator? We'll go back. Probe columns, DP transmitters, magnetic level indicators under 900 pounds working steam pressure, and guided wave radar. So when you have customers that are dealing with issues with their sight glass, and they're frustrated with the constant repair. Because here's the deal, guys. At the end of the day, there's no better technology out there than mica. And certain plants, whether they cycle a bunch, they have ever-changing steam pressure. They're not running at a constant, steady, lower steam pressure, and just really high pressure assemblies like in combined cycle Hercigs on the HP drum. Just no matter what you install, there's going to be this constant erosion of that mica, and they're going to be repairing these sight glasses on a rather frequent basis. So to alleviate that, you can offer implementing 2 remote level indicators and 1 sight glass that may be valved out. My apologies. So with that said, that's really the gist of what I wanted to cover here today. I wanted to accomplish, make sure that everyone understood that there's a threshold, a pressure threshold at 400 pounds working steam pressure. So that's the first thing we're kind of assessing. And then from there, what are the requirements? There's more requirements and more nuance beyond this, but this is the overall big picture of solutions that Questtec can provide that can allow them to meet their requirements for ASME Section 1, 31.1, PG 60, and how we can inform and update our customers and help them better make a decision that will be best fit for their plant and their needs. Again, thank you guys for your time. This is Hayden Laughter with Questtec Solutions, and I'll see you again soon.